And it's another day here at Facebook Live with Home Show Radio. I'm Tom Tynan, the host of Home Show Radio. This is not radio, by the way, it's video. See, I can move my hands and stuff. Although when I do the radio show, I probably do a lot of that. Nobody gets to see it. But you get to see it now, and you get to ask questions, and I get to answer them like I do on Sports Radio 610 in Houston, Texas for 35 years now, answering home improvement questions, and since 2003 being on sports radio. But on the weekends, the sports guys sleep in, and I get the morning Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday from 9 to noon, and on Sunday from 8 to 11. They sleep in. I get to fill. I love that time slot because nobody else wants it, and I get it. It's always there. And so I have a great time answering your questions like I have been since 1987. But you can also ask them here or ask them on our website. And there's a lot of ways to get to us, and we can answer your questions. But don't forget, we also cover gardening also on Saturdays, because we have the garden pros that come on before me on Sports Radio 610. And of course, they have their own website like I do mine, and you can stream it, listen to it anytime you want. But they're on from 7 to 9, and Sandy and all her garden pros, they do a fantastic job. So you got a whole package when you go to Home Show Radio and Garden Pros. And of course, Charlie Mosier, who kind of facilitates the whole thing. He is the orchestra leader. Yeah. And he makes sure everybody's in the right place at the right time. And then he goes off and does whatever he wants.
More of a ringmaster than anything else. You know,
yeah, or the jail keeper, whatever you want to call him. That's what he is.
I should get that red suit with the hat and the whistle. And
yeah, you should. That's a good idea. It'll give us credibility. No. I'll get green jeans. Okay, we're going way back now.
And Fuzzy Bear. All right.
Yeah,
and we'll play the Captain Kangaroo theme at the beginning of the show. Yeah, if you want to get your questions on the show, by the way, it's easy. We're going to answer the questions that you send us today from HomeShowRadio.com. That with the AskTom button right there, and you fill out the form, you send it in, and the questions come out here, and also in our daily AskTom videos. So that's what we're doing today. Probably going to be a little bit of a short show unless we get questions from you, because remember, you can participate in the show. Wait a minute, let me put that thing up so you know what to do. All you got to do is go ahead and put your questions in the comment section below the window while we're live, and we'll answer them, or you can do it on the website. So that's the program. Okay, so turn that off, and we'll get to the questions.
Okay, it's distracting Tom.
A man who needs no distraction.
Look at the kitty.
Look at the kitty. That's it. All right, let's get to the questions. And of course, like I say, if you have some you want to send them, that's great. We appreciate you watching. And that's why we do this thing every Thursday. Plus, it keeps us off the streets. First question comes from Deer Park. That's where we find. Oh, you're kind of cutting your head off there. Let me help you out there.
Thank you.
Nathan, Deer Park writes to us.
Where's my hair? You took my hair off.
Well, yeah, okay, hang on. Ahead. Let me see. Yeah, I don't. Oh, you know what? We didn't pay for the upgrade on the adding hair feature.
That's too bad.
All right. Okay. Nathan says, "What are your thoughts on solar panels, Tom? How much of your energy bill does it really save, even with incentives? And is it still worth it? I have a 2,600 square foot home and a set rate for electricity. I haven't been in the home long, but so far it appears that the bill's running me $260 to $300 a month. And I've had a solar company come visit, but I wanted to ask you, before digging in too much, is this something I want to consider doing?"
The time is not right for solar. Most solar companies, when you're talking about a solar hookup, you're looking at $20,000, $30,000. It can even go higher than that, depending how much you're buying and what you're trying to achieve. To do a whole house, it could be well above that to do an entire house. Now, when I say a house, we're talking about air conditioning systems, heating systems, pool pumps, doing the house as if you had electricity. It's just not there. And for you to spend that kind of money and try to get some savings out of it, you're just payback in a short period of time to where it's paying you back and you're not paying any electric bill at all. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And at the same time, people usually don't put out that kind of cash because they don't have it, nor should you do it anyway. You should hold on to your cash. But as far as that goes, then you're paying interest because they put a lien on your home. They put a home improvement loan on there, and you've got a 25-year addition to the mortgage. And they say, well, it's only $80 or $100 or $200 a month. No big deal. Think about, you'll be saving all this money. And if you start to do the numbers, none of it makes sense. And the other thing is the financing plans, which go way too long, are outlive the solar panels capacity. So One of the things my son caught on one of these deals that they were giving people when he just bought his home in New Mexico was the solar panels only last 12 years, but they guaranteed for 15. Guess what? At 12 years, if you need new ones, to get that guarantee, it's like a warranty on a roof shingle. It prorates down the ones you have, and you have to buy the new ones from the same company to get the discount, supposedly discount, and you have to refinance those, and you still have your original loan you're only halfway through on. It's just not there yet. For commercial, industrial, solar farms, they can do this stuff, but on a house, it's not
RVs.
there. It's not there. It's just not there.
Yeah, it works on RVs.
Yeah, little things. If you had an RV or you have a boat, even the little wind turbines and stuff on these things, when you're driving, it'll charge your batteries. Your batteries can run the little refrigerator. It can run the few lights in there.
I'd be surprised if it runs a refrigerator. That's pretty high draw.
The little refrigerators.
Oh,
yeah, maybe not.
Okay.
I think RVs, I think they have propane refrigerators, if I'm correct. I'm not an RV expert.
Tri-fuel ones on the RVs.
Yeah.
And even on the RVs.
So they run a little differently.
Yeah. Each of those panels on the RVs only have like 110 watts or something. And so you need four panels up there to get to like 400 watts. And that's going to basically trickle charge your battery. Yeah, like you say, it's just
not there.
So
not on an individual basis.
As Maxwell
it's there.
Smart,
you know what would be really good if people would build a nneighborhood, and the neighborhood would put a plot of land out, build a park around it. Instead of the lake, they put a solar farm out there where everybody gets a little bit of the action, and it's part of your initial cost. They're doing that all over the world. They don't do it here in the United States. There's ways to make that work, but on an individual basis, no.
No. And as much as I fly around the country, I'll be coming in for a landing places and I'll see these fields of these things. And, it's awesome. How do they work when they're covered with snow? What about cloudy days? Well, I guess they do still generate a certain amount of power on a cloudy day, even, I think.
Well, it's funny you say it, Charlie, because if you have a field, you have solar technicians that work every day. They have to go out there. You know what they do, whether it's snow, rain, whatever, they're cleaning every panel. It's like my uncle used to paint bridges for the unions in Connecticut. He would start at one side, paint all the way to the other. When he stopped, he had to go back again because it took him that long. And they would just paint the bridge for years and years. That's what they're doing with the solar panels too. And who of you are going to get on your roof, which you shouldn't be anyway, tears your shingles up and causes problems, and clean your panels every single day? You're not going to.
I don't know if you clean them every day, but I mean, certainly enough.
They do. In some of the cities with the pollution and stuff, they start to diminish very quickly. Pollen season, that yellow pollen we get every day.
I'll probably get hate mail for this, but I understand the idea of clean energy, but for my money, there's only one clean energy source that is reliable and throttleable, meaning that when demand goes up, they can get a little more out of it, right? And that's nuclear. And it's not the nuclear that we had in the 70s and 80s. And sooner or later, even the greenies are going to say, maybe we should look at nuclear again. And for that
I still say hydrogen's the future, but we'll have to wait for that. It's not going to be in my lifetime. But solar panels, I agree with you on the nuclear. It's used all over the world.
Well, and the problem they're having with hydroelectric right now is the drought. They're getting.
Well, that's hydro.
Yeah. Right. Oh, but I know what you mean. Hydrogen powered. Yeah.
Hydrogen. It's different. And then you got the waves. You got all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But you know where solar would work? One panel on the ground with a 40-gallon tank on top of it, tilted this way towards the sun, a solar water heater. Mm-hmm. You put one on every home, and if it's an all-electric home, you realize that your hot water costs 25% of your bill. If you could lower your bill 25% on that house, and the whole panel and hookup would be less than $2,000 that most people could pay out of the pocket, maybe even less. There's a place you can use it, and nobody wants to do something like that. And if you did every home in the South that way for hot water, imagine the savings. But no, they don't want to look at it that way. It's got to be the big financing and all that stuff, and it doesn't work that way.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Ladies and gentlemen.
But
I think Tom Tynan almost drifted into a sales pitch there.
Well, I'm not selling solar water heaters. Do you know why nobody buys them?
It sounded that way.
Okay. Because Jimmy Carter went through the energy. We went through energy crunch in the Jimmy Carter age. But for those of you who weren't alive, it's 76 to 1980.
Yeah.
And they gave all these rebates on solar water heaters.
It was the
People
first
put them all
election
in their
I
homes.
voted in.
That's right. That's what I did too.
Yeah.
But the solar water heater systems all failed because they were putting them out there overpriced, sucking up government money. They didn't work right. They weren't maintained, and it was a mess. And so nobody ever wants to say it again. But if you keep the simple passive systems, they work really, really well. And so that's what gave it a bad name. And that was so long ago, and they still remember. People still remember how bad that was.
Yeah, I remember you talking about the solar water heaters at one point, saying that the only problem with them is that you've got to
it's really
it
hot.
Gets too hot. The water gets too hot. Yeah.
It does.
There's a
and
good
so
problem.
You got to really throttle it down.
Well, I can understand why people don't want that. All right.
It's over like 200 degrees. Yeah, it gets hot.
Yeah.
Almost boiling. So I don't know what else to say except you throttle it down when you get in the shower.
212? Is it 212?
Yeah, it's right around. It can get to 200. And I think you're right. 212 is the boiling point for plain water. You can put additives in to make it boil higher temperatures. But anyway, yes.
I don't know if Art Hammond or Mr. Wilkins from White Mountains Regional High School are watching today, but yes, I did remember something from science. Go. All right.
There you go.
Next question. Yikes, your head. Tom, you have a head issue.
I did not move.
I know. You know what it is? Normally before... No, it's not you. Don't
I'm checking my tripod to see if the camera's slowly going down. No, it's
Wait, this is a very finely tuned machine you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, today. Okay, all right. Fine. James in Lukenbach, Texas writes, he says, my friend has a new built home with a wood-burning fireplace. She wants to get this problem corrected before the next cold season. The problem is, whenever she has it lit, smoke comes out of the front and ends up turning the wall black. Should there be a minimum space from the opening to the back wall to make sure the smoke is channeled out of the chimney? She was told all she needs, ready for this? Keep a window cracked, but she doesn't understand why you would need that method in a new home.
Because new homes are too tight, and it's very common. A couple of things happen with fireplaces. If they're built right, or if it's an insert, then there's no minimum thing. It's all engineered the way it's supposed to be. But homes get so tight that until the fireplace warms up and the flue warms up, the smoke can back up into a home. So the proper way to light a fireplace in a new home, because they're so tight, is to crack a door or open a window a little bit and let the fireplace heat up and get going. Then if you want to close it down, you can, but still you'll start to choke it off because you have no fresh air coming in. That is why with good fireplaces, they put fresh air returns in the fireplace. So it actually draws air in and goes out within the fireplace mechanism from the outside. And it works really well. And the old fireplaces, they would have, some of them were made that way to feed the fresh air into the fire. Now, when you have an insert with a metal flue, which most new ones have now, like because this is a new home, it probably has a metal flue pipe that goes all the way up. The way to get it started is to, if you have a newspaper, you don't get newspapers anymore, but we would just wad up a newspaper into a long stick, light the end of it, and put it up into the flue and preheat the flue up past the damper, and then light the fire, and it would start the draw. And I used to have to coach my clients when we build them homes on how to start the fire properly. And yes, cracking a window, which is not going to cost you anything. You got a fireplace going and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It's going to feed, it's going to pressurize. We have negative and positive pressures we talk about in homes. And what it's going to do, it's going to pressurize the home so the air can flow out because air can come in. You can't live in a vacuum. That's why with these new homes, and they make them so tight, I always talk about fresh air returns in your air conditioning systems. If you don't have fresh air come into the house, like you would with an air conditioning system, we put them in systems, it draws a little bit of air in that's fresh because you need air exchanges every hour. It's not an energy issue. It's that you're a human being and you can't live in an igloo cooler because you eventually will die without oxygen. And that's what's happening in a lot of homes. People don't really die, but they get kind of sick. They don't have the sharpness they need. There's a lot of problems, and especially with little babies, when the people have nurseries in new homes, They close the doors and everything. They put the monitors, the cameras. They want to make sure the baby sleeps well, but it's not getting fresh air. So you have to watch out, especially with the little ones, because their lungs are so small. They need to have fresh air into those rooms to stay healthy.
So if you can find a newspaper.
Yeah, there's no newspapers.
Yeah.
We get a free one on Sunday here in Houston because it's all ads, and for some reason it started showing up. I think they needed the distribution to keep the ads going.
Yeah, you can't do that by setting your Twitter feed on fire and holding it in there.
You might. I haven't tried that.
I was talking to my dad. Dad the other day, and I give thanks to God every day that I can because he's 93 years old.
Yeah, I lost mine 2 years ago.
And I was talking about how, we used to use the newspapers to clean the windshields on the car because the residue from the ink would put a coating on the window and it would keep it from fogging up. And I was telling him the other day, Dad, it doesn't work anymore. And it's like my 93-year-old dad says to me, that's right, Charlie, because they use soy ink now. And I was like,
see, he knows.
So just a lesson that I'll pass on to you guys. Sometimes old guys know things that you don't. Just saying.
Yes.
Just saying.
I know a lot of things you don't. That's why people call me on the weekends.
That's right. Fine. Somebody told me once that the job of youth is to pass up innovation, and the job of the older population is to pass down wisdom. And so if everybody remembers their job, things work well. So
there is no doubt. I wish I had the wisdom that when I was 20 that I have now. For sure.
But I'm all over that, but I don't want to go through my 20s again. All right.
No.
Next question comes from Douglas in, how would you say that? Massillon, Ohio. He says, the condo we recently bought is 20 years old, Tom, and the 2 grab bars on the painted steel bar fixtures are rusting and look awful. I'm concerned that unscrewing the side pieces to replace the bars will compromise the waterproofability of the walls. Can you give me some advice? There is no info on the shower surround, or the condo management has no info on the manufacturer. So how does he do this? Got some tips?
Yeah, you can replace them. And if you have new bars going on and you have to make new holes, that's fine. And just use a pure silicone in the old holes. It's going to be fine. You can't leave those old nasty things there. So go ahead and replace it, and don't worry about the waterproofability. It's more about the water. How am I going to hide the holes so you don't look at them and they're ugly? But as far as filling a hole with a little pure silicone, it'll be there as long as you want it to be. I hope it's behind where it's going on with the bars, so you don't see it. It's like an escutcheon plate, a vanity plate, they call them, that go over any kind of connections. But think about all the penetrations with the shower heads and the mixer valves with all your handles, with grab bars, the screws that go into the shower doors through the tile. That's fine. They can be taken out and replaced, and you don't have to use the same hole. Just fill them up with a little silicone and put your new bars on top. If you have to drill new holes, that's fine. It'll work.
Would you put silicone on the new screws so that they seat and create a
Not
seal?
really. It depends how they're sealing them in. There's for it to get any real water in there, you'd have to submerge it, and we're not going to do that. It's just getting a little spray. It'll be fine. And I think he's overthinking. He's worried about the waterproofability. It's not a boat. It's just a shower.
I like that. The water.
I like the word proofability.
Yeah,
that's why I keep using it.
So we're going to send a little thank you note to Douglas for that new word.
Proofability.
We're going to add to the Home Show Radio dictionary. Waterproofability.
If I say it again, it'll sound like a Kamala speech. Proofability. Okay. Sorry.
Oh no, Tom, you have to go.
No, I'm going to get hate mail. Okay,
ladies and gentlemen, Tom Tynan goes straight into first sales, now politics.
What do they call it?
I'm glad the show's going to run short today because you'd get some religion. All right. Yeah.
We'll do it in editing.
Wait, there isn't any. Wait a minute, we are live. All right.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Carol has our last
Next,
question.
please.
Let me fix let me fix your head here. I'm sorry.
Why is it moving? I'm not doing anything.
No, it's because each one of these frames is separate. I normally fix this before we get started, but I didn't check it, and so we were late to get started.
I thought I had something wrong here.
We've got, this is like a crazy week, because next week We have clients coming in Monday, Tuesday to shoot TV ads, and then Wednesday through Friday, I'm going to Salt Lake for Grant's wedding. My stepson is getting married.
Congratulations!
And
Yes.
yeah, we're excited for the nuptials. I'm excited for that, but I'm also excited because all my kids are going to be in one place.
Oh, that's cool. That's rare when they get to be that age.
Happen, right?
Yeah,
that's a good daddy moment. So I'm looking forward to that. And Grant's wedding also.
Yes.
So, oh boy, I hope Sandy's not watching. All right. Carolyn
Yes.
Porter says, I'll be building my retirement home, a 32 by 70 building. Half will be living space. It's a DIY project. And my question is about the roof decking with radiant barrier. LP, Tom, says it looks like it only comes in 7/16 thick, but the trusses will be 24-inch on center. Does roof sheathing with radiant barriers really work? I know the answer to that one. Are they worth the extra cost to keep the attic cooler? We're going for the rustic look with a corrugated metal tin for the ceiling with insulation above it, but I'm afraid of all the air leaks. What's your advice for Carol?
Well, there's a lot of different things maybe they didn't realize in this question. You have 24-inch centers. Let's start with the structure. And 7/16, which is common now, even with plywood, it's a half inch. It really is not a half inch. They made it just a little bit smaller, but it all meets the specifications as far as structure goes. But to put them on a 24-inch center spacing, it gets pretty dicey and bouncy in between. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to follow the minimum building codes, you're going to require clips in the middle between the rafters, and they're clips that hold the plywood together so it doesn't do this, because it'll tear up the roof if somebody walks on it. So if you're going to go minimum, and codes are always minimum, you can do the 7/16, 24-inch center, but it requires clips on there between each set of rafters. And radiant barriers do work. Now, usually though, if we go 24-inch centers, we'll end up going to a 5/8 thick plywood or OSB board for that matter. It's going to be a little bit less, but it's considered a 5/8 product. And there are probably some 5/8 products you can buy with radiant barrier on there. As far as Georgia Pacific, you're looking at LP, but look at GP. Georgia Pacific makes plywood radiant barrier. That's what I used to use on the homes because I don't use OSB board, and that's what Tech Shield is from LP. It's a particle board type product, and it is not a plywood. So if you're going to go with a plywood decking, you want to go 24-inch centers, you're going to have to use 5/8 plywood, and you can get a GP product probably with that on there. You're going to have to order it. Now, here's the big kicker, though. It's really expensive. It would be cheaper just to add 2 trusses to your whole building and just squeeze them in at 16 inches. Go with the half inch, go with the GP product, and the radiant barrier is a must. So if you wanted to redo the structure, that's the first half of this question. You could do that. Radiant barrier throughout this question is a yes, especially in Porter, Texas. Porter, Texas deserves a radiant barrier. Now, if you wanted to go with just a plain plywood decking, half inch with the clips, and you wanted to have somebody spray the radiant barrier on there, that would be perfectly acceptable too. And that might be a way to save you on your cost of the building, because it sounds like your cost and keeping them down is going to be pretty important in this project. And that way you don't have to buy extra extra trusses. You don't have to go to a thicker plywood, and you could just have one spray the paint, which can be done quickly before they put all the metal up and the insulation and all your ceiling, and make it really nice looking on the inside. So that's what I would do. Radiant barrier savings, here's the bottom line. In this part of the country, it'll reduce your cooling costs 8 to 12%. And that is a major part, not a huge, not 50% of your electric bill, but it's a big part of your electric bill. And in your question, you say, will it make the attic cooler? It definitely makes the attic cooler. That's how it reduced your energy costs.
I'm surprised so the radiant barrier will keep it cooler, but the passive venting doesn't. I mean, that just gets the humidity out.
Well, let's step back a little bit. Passive ventilation, it's a secondary. It will get the heat out because the heat rises, but its primary function is to remove the moisture, because hot air rises. Hot air isn't falling into your home. So hot air rises out, and as the hot air rises out, it's a sponge. Hot air holds more water than cold. And so it's a sponge, and so it takes the moisture out with it. That's why you want a slow movement. And that keeps the insulation on the floor or behind that metal, that stamped metal they're talking about. That keeps the insulation dry, because water, that humidity that builds up in insulation, whether it's cellulose, fiberglass, any of them, it is going to reduce the R value tremendously. So the ventilation is to keep the R value at the peak efficiency. The radiant barrier stops the heat from the radiation, which is 80% of the heat coming through the attic, from heating up that insulation, so it keeps it cooler. So now it's cooler and it's drier, and you get the full benefit of it. And then you go ahead and turn your air conditioner on, and the less heat, the less your air conditioner runs.
I'm thinking 8 to 12% off your electric bill, and your electric
not electric bill, cooling cost.
Cooling cost. Okay.
Because your electric bill today, Charlie, in a home like yours,
I'm glad you're making this point, because people hear what, I heard you say that, but what I heard in my head was the electric bill.
Now, your electric on a typical home that doesn't have a swimming pool, doesn't have huge amounts of electronics, doesn't have 14 children with 100 clocks. I mean, we go on and on. But that's going to be about 50% of an average bill. So if you can save about 10%, let's just use the number 10% on 50%, that's a nice little piece off the top of it, and it pays itself back pretty quickly. But remember, it doesn't do a lot in December, because December's not hot. It's the summer months. So it keeps that cost down in the summer months. But nothing out there is going to save 50%, 80% of your electric bill. That's all bogus numbers. And I get so irritated when I hear that as on the sales pitches for the even the solar, or you put in a dual speed air conditioner, it's going to reduce your electric bill by 40%. And if it doesn't, we'll pay the other 40%. That's the latest scam I've seen on TV from air conditioner contractors. How are you going to prove 40% of what? What are they going to look at? To do a number like that is nearly impossible. And I'll guarantee you that they're going to pay for it part on their warranty. You got to come up with some pretty exact numbers for them to write a check to you. That's for darn sure. And they're going to put whatever they think they might have to write out, they're going to put it on the sale cost. So don't get caught up in that.
Right. But okay, I'm not going to go down that road with you.
Because it was 40% of the cooling costs. I
understand cooling
that's
costs.
what it's going to say.
Aye, Captain.
It's going to be all over.
No, I was going to say, because I work with clients who talk about the fact that, a properly maintained and relatively new system will save enough money to almost pay for it, the differential. And we've done the math.
It depends. It depends what they compare it to.
Right.
It's always on the comparison.
Apples to apples on the system. Yeah, because I wouldn't write an ad that isn't true. And so we have the validation of it. So, but that's,
if you compare it to a really old system that wasn't maintained and it was just, it's shot and you're trying to keep it running and it's chugging out there. Yeah, I can see that. It depends what you compare it to, but people don't look at what are they comparing it to. So just got to be careful.
All right. So we're time for us to circle the runway. So if you want to,
you don't circle, you land.
Well, we got to circle, then you land, right?
Okay, fine. I don't like it when they start circling.
You don't just aim at the airport and land. Just like you got.
Well, that's why I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All I know is that I don't have the temperament to do that. I just bought a drone because I'm going to try again. Because once upon a time, I flew the drone we own here, and this is the piece that I broke off of it, and I've kept it here ever since to remind me why I don't fly. But anyway, I'm willing to take the chance again. But anyway,
if you move to Brownsville, we have drone training. I've just put together a whole drone training program. So we've got big ones, and we've got little ones, and we got all kinds of them.
Well, we got. I'm buying the one the new DJI Air 3 or something, because it's just under the weight where you need the tail number and all the other stuff on it.
Yes.
But the dirty little secret is, if you buy the expanded battery for it, puts it over the weight. But I'm never going to use that battery.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
I understand.
So, hey, if you want to get a question on the show, honestly, all you got to do is go to our website. That's HomeShowRadio.com. Click on the blue Ask Tom button, fill out the form, and send it in. And get ready, Tom. We're going to swap places. If you're looking for a Home Show Pro, You go to our website, find them all right there on our website. We have them there, and also sorted by category, so you can find who you need. And if you're looking to find Tom, I think you can find him on the radio this weekend.
Yes, you will. I'll be on at 9 o'clock on Saturday, 9 to noon, and Sunday, 8 to 11. Regular schedule this weekend. I'm just hanging out and doing the show. And of course, on Saturday, we always have the Garden Pros from 7 to 9 before I go on the air at 9 o'clock.
And I will be doing the show, my part of the Sunday show, a little early. I'll be doing it Mountain Time from Salt Lake. Not this week, but next week, because we won't be here next Thursday, because this time next Thursday, I'll be wearing a gray suit and brown shoes. Two things I would never buy. But that's what it takes to be in the wedding party for my stepson, Grant.
Really?
Myers.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but I'm proud as can be that he's not only serving our country in the Navy, but he's found himself a beautiful bride. And next week, they begin their lifelong journey together. So I congratulate him on that in advance. And we will be back again 2 weeks from today with another Ask Tom Live. And we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. Free advice from a pro.